Welcome back to the Bible Reading Project. I'm here with P. Paul Mark, and we're glad that you're here. Hoping to inspire you to read the Bible every single day. Zero excuse, especially on this Tuesday.
It is a Tuesday, so share with everybody what we're doing now.
Yeah, so we did 150 Psalms, and thank you guys. I hope that it blessed you going through all of the Psalms. I know I learned a lot. It challenged me to think about God in a different way, and maybe just the ups and downs of life, and you just kind of get to roll with David and the other psalmists. But now we're doing the red letters of Jesus, what Jesus said. And yesterday, just to recap, talked about some of the things that Jesus says may be offensive.
I like the thought you gave, and we left it with a question that, you know, how does the love of God and the offense that it causes gel?
Right.
And so, I think, man, sometimes to be a strong Christian, we even say it in Christianity, broad is the way, narrow is the way, Jesus is narrow. I think when you really understand it, that until you reconcile that your belief in Jesus is going to be offensive, it just never goes well for you. Because you always want everybody happy. You want all your friends to agree with you. You want to live any way you want, but then come to church and God still claps and goes, yay, you're a Christian. And I think this chapter is that God's just really not up there clapping. He really says, look, I'm not here to tout your life. I'm not here to pat you on the head and go, good little children.
Right.
Let me throw you some food. As a matter of fact, this whole chapter, and we'll get into it later, in the months ahead, but just for opening, because I wanted to open with why the red letters of Jesus and what, if anybody follows along, you can expect.
Yeah.
Here's the expectation. You can expect, if you're a Christian and read the Bible, you will be offended.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is we either skip the parts that offend us,
Right.
or we find people who tell us that that's really not what the Bible meant, and we change what it means.
Right.
Because it's just cut and dry, very much in your face. What's funny, we talk about culture. I was watching a guy interviewing some college campus. He was interviewing people.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, we're going to really just talk about science, because everybody's like, trust the science, we're going to trust the science, believe the science, whatever science tells us. He goes, all right, here's what science tells us. There's a male and a female. There's an XX and an XY chromosome. Dude, you would have thought the college students just got told their mother was murdered. They were so PO'd. How could you dare say there's only two genders? Gender is a spectrum. Gender is, it's fluid. It's anything you want it to be. Now, I was listening because I love debating. Sure. I like hearing both sides of the coin. I don't care. Always. So I was listening intently, and I really wanted to take the argument of gender fluidity. Like, I want to jump on that side of the fence.
Yeah.
Could I fight for that? And I'm listening to it. I'm like, dude, give me something other than it's just what you think
or feel. Give
me something other than it's just what you feel, because that's not a great argument to die on a hill with. Right. I just feel it. I think that's one thing I love about Jesus. You may not agree with the Bible.
Sure.
You might not like the Bible at all. Right. But one thing we know about Jesus, he wasn't a feeling. Historically, if you study it, he really lived. Historically, if you study it, what happened, right? Sure. Whether you believe people faked his resurrection or not, if you go back through history, you find documents that this guy really existed, all right? So in listening to this argument, what I notice going on in our culture is feelings have become facts.
Yeah.
And those facts have become the guardian of our soul.
Sure.
So in short, I believe what's happened is feelings have become the guardian of the soul.
Right.
And if you offend my feelings, how dare you misogynist, racist, homophobic, whatever, just because I disagree with you.
Right.
Because if I go up to a gay friend of mine and I say, look, I'm a Christian, I adhere to the Bible, I don't believe your lifestyle is godly, they have a right to go, I'm still going to live this way anyway. And I have a right to go, okay, live whatever you want to live. But we have to stop trying to make the choice of my life be that God approves it because I chose.
Right.
And I think that's where the red letters of Jesus come in. The way we left it off yesterday, I'll read it again. I'm so used to Psalms. John chapter 6, verse 60. Many of his disciples said, this is very hard to understand. How can anyone accept it? In other words, how could we find anybody to believe what this dude is saying?
Yeah.
Verse 61, Jesus was aware that his disciples were complaining, so he said to them, does this offend you? And like we said yesterday, of course, the letters of Jesus are going to be offensive. Young people, hey, teenager, if you're listening, you're a teenager. Yes, if you read the Bible, it's going to offend you.
Yeah.
It's going to talk to you about the way you talk, the way you live, the way you act, what your eyes see, what your ears hear, what your mouth speaks, what you meditate on, what you dream about, what you chase after. And what it's going to bring you to is a death to self, selfish living, and live for him. Or it's going to offend you, right? So here's what he said, verse 62. It even starts getting deeper. Jesus says, does this offend you? Verse 62, then what will you think if you see the Son of Man ascending to heaven? In other words, he immediately goes to the problem. It's what they think.
Right.
And my belief is Christianity today has merged more with just what we think than what the actual scriptures teach. And even if you show somebody, here's the actual scriptures, well, that's not what I think.
Right.
And you go, but it says that.
Right.
It says right here.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's not what I think.
Right.
And it takes me back to that college campus. It's XX and XY.
Yeah.
This is science. That's not what I think.
Right.
You're wrong. How could I be wrong? It's provable. It's right in front of you. It's a penis if you're a male and a vagina if you're a female. It's that clear. And he said that to that college student. And that college student goes, well, and just kind of like, I don't like what you said, so you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we have to come with God.
That's good.
Is that we can't just argue, oh, yeah, I don't like what you said. You're wrong.
Yeah.
So when we get into the Bible, there's going to be a lot of things that God says that we may not like, but we have to come to the place of God is right, and I'm wrong. Why do you think we flip the script today that we're always right, even when we're wrong, and we don't dare want you to tell me I'm wrong, and I don't want God to tell me I'm wrong? I just want to be approved. I want you to approve my lifestyle or my choices. If you don't, get out of my face, you sorry, no good, whatever. I want God. I heard Don Lemon say on one of his shows the other day, I just want God to approve me. He doesn't judge me. Right? Because he said the God of Christianity, this is his words, the God of Christianity would never judge us. Right? Cool. I get it. I understand where you're coming from. You want to live your life. You want to talk about love, but like you said yesterday, you can't have love and avoid offense. So let's chat about that. Let's chat about why what we think, if we're not careful, we try to redefine God of what we think about God versus in who God is.
Yeah, I think the reason we don't is, and this may be a general statement, it may be wrong, but my opinion is that the reason why is pride. That we are so prideful to believe that I'm right and everyone else and everything else is wrong, including the Bible. And that I'm so right that I have to believe that if you come against me, so essentially you become God.
Yeah.
But I'm reminded of Romans 12 too, that I think that it's a good cross reference to John 6 verse 63 or 62.
Yeah.
Do not conform to the pattern of this world, the pattern of I'm right and what I feel and my emotions, and you can't come against my emotions and what I'm feeling. Otherwise, you're bursting my bubble, and that's offensive. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then, so the transformation comes by the Holy Spirit. We'll probably get into that later. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good and pleasing and perfect will. So His will, the offense, what Jesus says. So if I can be transformed by my mind, then the promise is I'll be able to test and see what Jesus said, albeit offensive, is true. Yeah.
So there was an article that I came across, and it was talking about the other day. You ready for this? This is interesting. Right. He lived out in Washington, right? It's Washington State. He moved back to the South. You want to know why he moved back to the South?
Why?
He said, I got tired of living in a city where everybody thought the same, and if you didn't think like they think, you were ostracized. And this was his comment. I don't even think the guy was a Christian. This was his comment. He said, I was shocked at how narrow-minded it became when you offered yourself no other dissenting opinion. right?
Right.
I'm always right.
Yeah.
And if you don't see my right, you must be wrong.
Yeah.
There's no debate.
Right.
Because when you debate, it really challenges the feelings. It's hard to debate feelings, right?
Right.
Especially if you're going to really debate. So he moves back to the South. Now, I've grown up in the South. We know how that goes, right? But this is what he said about the South. He didn't really talk about church. He didn't really talk about, he just said in the South, he found that there was more of an understanding that we could have different opinions and still debate things out, all right? I think that's what the red letters of Jesus do.
Yeah.
I think the red letters of Jesus aren't just to come onto my side of the fence, go, you're right, bless your heart.
Right.
You just keep doing, you do you. I think the red letters of Jesus are like, no, if you follow me, we're going to debate this out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be right every time. Right. And so therefore, it really brings home the understanding of, if we talk about Jesus, it is offensive. If we talk about Jesus, we cannot talk about him without getting into the way humans think about him.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's what's messed it up, is that we've turned Jesus into something to fit us rather than turning us into fit him.
That's good.
So I want to leave you with a question. This is a good question for Tuesday. What are some things in your life that you need to change now? Your thinking, some habits that are definitely not like Jesus, but you're hoping that Jesus will clap and approve it anyway because he's love. But let's take the loving Jesus and say that he thinks different than you and has different expectations than you. Then would there be some things in your life right now that may be offensive? Some habits you have that would be offensive if the real reality of Jesus's words and truth showed up into your life? Are there things going on that are offensive? And guess what? Nobody can judge you better than you outside of God. You're the one that knows you best. You're the one that knows your secret hearts and what's going on inside your secret thoughts and inside your heart. Are there things in you right now that would be considered offensive? And then the second question would be this. Is there anybody, if you're a Christian, all right, is there anybody in your life that can tell you you're wrong? Because that is a great place to come. Because if you're not careful, you only surround yourself with people who think like you, reason like you, and agree with you.
Right.
And it's always nice to have somebody in the equation that can challenge anything that's outside of the red letters of Jesus. So if the red letters of Jesus don't line up with your life, is there somebody in your life that can call you out on that? Because I'm telling you, it really makes a difference when you have people that can help us become everything God wants us to be, because something's going to happen tomorrow that's very interesting of what happens in this group of people that cannot reconcile the offense and the hurt. They want Jesus to agree with everything they do. They want Jesus to see life like they see it. And when they realize Jesus doesn't, something profound happens. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you tomorrow.